Hello, and welcome to the Roughneck Minute, a Movies by Minute podcast where we go over the movie Starship Troopers 1 minute at a time. I'm your host, Johan.
And I'm your host, Matthew.
And we are at minute 113. It begins with Xander saying our first PG-13 language push, and ends with Carmen.
Ooh.
Yeah, we've been kind of waiting for this minute. And it ends with Carmen attacking the brain bug. So the reason why we've been kind of waiting for this minute is we've made a hard rule. We can only say certain words if it's said in the film.
Yes.
And this is the first PG-13 language push.
Yes, it is.
So we'll get to it when we talk about that particular moment.
Yes, we will.
So in the screenplay, I mentioned that Carmen is kind of overseeing a ridge and Deladier is screaming as she's in the presence of the brain bug.
Mm-hmm.
The workers walk past and over her. Like, how creepy would that be?
Yeah.
Like, these bugs are just like climbing over you because you're insignificant. So Carmen kind of doesn't move. She pretends to be dead.
Mm-hmm.
And like the end of the minute, she sees towards the end of the minute, but she sees Deladier being killed by the brain bug, and then the workers take the carcass away.
Gross.
So we can get to we'll get to the rest of the screenplay, but let's compare it to the movie real quick, because we all know we're kind of excited about this part of the minute.
Mm-hmm. So
right at the minute, Xander delivers that one line to the brain bug. It's a soliloquy, because it's like it is kind of like it's not really a monologue, so to speak, because he's not just speaking on his own, but it's kind of like supposed to be kind of, I guess, like breaking the fourth wall a bit with the way he's looking at the camera. It's like to deliver the message to, like, basically that they are going to win.
Yes.
So the line says, "Someday, someone like me is going to come here and wipe out your whole fucking race."
Ooh, the biggest bomb in the movie.
Yeah.
The biggest.
But he says it with that draw with the F.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he really gave it his all. And I think he knew he had the hardest language push line in this entire movie.
Yep.
So he does like one last act of defiance, which is to spit in the face of his maker, and the brain bug drops the pulp right onto the crown of his head.
Mm-hmm.
And it is kind of messy, but so you see a bit of blood kind of already come up to the top of the proboscis. There's like gray matter that kind of shoots out. If you stop it at like 14 seconds, it looks like it might be just like, the top of a head of something.
Mm-hmm.
But it does look like the head that we saw when they saw that body by the communication in the communication room in the outpost.
Yep.
It has the same weapon opening. I'm trying to not get all dextery on analyzing this, because I just binged watched it to the Trinity kill. But this is something that Dexter would do in his lab, trying to figure out what the weapon is and try and see if it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But so it's creepy because Xander screams about it.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing I thought of. He's screaming in pain, but there are no pain receptors in the brain.
There's pain receptors on top of the head. I mean, he can definitely feel something going through his head.
I guess.
Like, I think it's more of a shock.
Okay. That would make sense then.
Like, also, I mean, like, there are stories about people who come in with, like, knives in the top of their head and, like, nails and stuff. And they're like, dude, I got such a headache. And they don't know what's going on. But, like, this is a big, probably 3-inch diameter proboscis just going straight through the top of his head at force too, like with the weight of the bug jamming down on his proboscis.
Yeah. I mean, I would figure that he'd be feeling a lot more pressure.
Yeah.
And maybe he'd be in shock a bit, but not screaming at the fact that he's in pain. You know what I mean?
Well, also, I mean, it's probably starting the sucking as well, too. I mean, we see it later, just a couple seconds later, but it's probably just starting to feel around in there and then go. So that's probably the shock and, as well, too.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how having your brain sucked out of a tube feels like, but I'm pretty sure it kind of hurts.
Yeah, maybe it does.
Yeah, as much as it would feel.
It's just probably he feels a lot of pressure on the top of his head or something like that. But that's why I don't think that he would be feeling a whole lot of like pain. That's just what I mean.
Yeah, no. I think this is, if anything, I think this is more of a what is it called? Involuntary response as well to having something jammed in the top of your head as well too.
Yeah. Okay. It starts to suck his brain.
Mm-hmm.
And you actually had some input on how this was made.
Oh, yeah. I've been reading, if you guys want to read this as well, too, it's an article called The Army of Klendathu. And it's all about, like, the puppeteering and all about the bugs. I've been using this pretty much for the whole entire movie. But this scene in particular, Patrick Muldoon, they came up with a wig-type mohawk thing for him with a fake silicone wound attached to the top of it. And then had a vacuform proboscis on the very top of it attached to the fake wound hair appliance. At the same time, they had a hidden tube going from under his hair down his back and into a bucket full of sausage-like meat with a little bit of blood in it as well too, or silicone flesh. And as soon as the thing started, they pulled a string through the tube going up his back, through his hair, and up through the tube, so it looked like it was pulling out brains. This is some really good movie This is some really good movie making and special effects, because it looks. Yeah. I mean, it's a single shot going from the top of his head and his face up the line of the proboscis and through it all the way through to the brain itself.
Yeah, and I just didn't think that there was that much brain matter in the skull, though. But
it's going through
effect.
Yeah.
Effect the way it is looking amazing, though.
I mean, it is going through a small opening as well, too, like a 2-3 inch hole opening. And the brain is big, so it probably has to. Who knows what the end of the proboscis does? Maybe it like jiggles around in there and mixes it up, kind of like what you would do if you were mummifying an Egyptian, sticking that hook up their nose and jiggling it around and pulling out pieces.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I just thought like maybe it would if it had like that natural chemical where it prevents you from clotting, or it just numbs it so you don't know it's there. Mm-hmm. But I doubt something like that with its purpose actually would do something like that.
No, I don't think so either. I think at this point, there probably wouldn't be any numbing effects to the proboscis at all. It's just there for one purpose, and that purpose is sucking out brains and sucking out anything else.
Yeah. Probably hasn't evolved to something like how a tick, so you don't know it's actually there. It secretes a bit of the saliva to prevent clotting and whatnot.
The mosquito does that too, yeah. There were also 2 heads, Patrick Muldoon puppet heads made for this scene as well too. One for where his eyes are being rolled to the back, and then the very last one where the proboscis releases. So those 2 are puppet heads.
Yeah, the one where the brain's finally out, that death gasp is kind of, it's really freaky.
Oh my god, it so is.
Ugh. If you, well, wait a minute. Now that it freezes at 5230.
Mm-hmm.
Well, other than the fact that we know it's completely fake, there's no teeth.
Nope, there's no teeth because it's just a big open head, and also here, look at the side of his ear.
Yeah,
it's all weird.
Yeah, same with like the right lip. It seems like that is where the joint meets for like maybe the skin flex or something like that.
Yeah, and also, but the thing is too, they created this head to make it look gaunt as well too, to get that like sucked look. You know,
Yeah,
it looks like it looks like the bug is sucking everything out of him.
yeah, and it looks like there might be a hose in this face or whatever, or like this puppeteering head,
Hmm.
because when you look into the mouth at about 5234, there's something like some sort of half blockage.
Yeah, it looks like a blot, it looks like it's supposed to be his tongue, but it probably is like a mechanism to pull the cheeks in.
Yeah. That's what I first thought when I first saw the movie, that was his tongue. But when you look at it, it's like just like some fleshy wall. But you might be right. It is to pull the cheeks together and make it seem like everything's being like all the air is being sucked through the top of his head.
Mm-hmm.
So as freaky as that is good puppeteering.
It really is. API and Tippett Studios did. Yeah, this was mostly API doing this work because they were in charge of all the gore and effects for like the body horror and everything. They did a great job with this.
Yeah, absolutely. So it pulls out the proboscis, and the body presumably just like slumps to the ground.
And without a brain, I mean, it's just a husk.
Yeah. So it moves to the point now where Carmen starts screaming because it looks like the warrior's going to pull Carmen to front and center right next to the brain bug.
Mm-hmm. She's next.
Yeah. So in the script, the warriors moved to Carmen where they last left her.
Mm-hmm.
So even though she tried to play possum with the worker bugs, the warriors knew that she was still alive, or that they had like a live one there, that she didn't die from the wounds yet.
Mm-hmm.
So the warrior does. That's when they actually do it, where they pin her with their claws.
Yeah.
And then they move her up. And in the script, it actually says her limbs. So it's not like the collarbone or the left arm. It's supposed to be like kind of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And in the script, Carmen accepts death at this point.
Ooh.
She gives up. It doesn't have her doing that, what's it called? The brave slicing of the pulp.
Mm-hmm.
She gives up at this point.
Okay.
She there's no fight in her. She saw what happened to Xander. She knows it's going to be coming to her. She accepts death. So, in the script, I don't know. We've been talking about it. They definitely try to make her a little bit braver, in the movie, but it wasn't supposed to be here either.
Mm-hmm.
So here she is. She was picked up. She was thrown on the ground. She's going to go face to face with the bug, and she lifts her body up with the left arm that had the shattered collarbone again. I'm not gonna give up on it because like they told her to stop and she didn't, so she kept doing it. So here we go.
Mm-hmm.
She gets to hear all of it. But one of the things I want to point out is we get to see the entrance and the exit wounds.
Yes, we do.
It still goes to my theory that she has a punctured lung.
I mean, obviously not because she's talking.
Yeah, I know, but okay. So at first, when we see it, it looks like the claw goes through kind of the upper portion of her like I don't know, like the trap. Is that the trap? Like kind of like the muscle that connects like the neck to the shoulder.
It's definitely going through that. Yeah.
Yeah, on the entrance wound, but the exit wound, it's like right above her left breast. So that would be close to at least slicing open a lung.
Lungs are a little lower still.
You think so?
I think so.
They're pretty big claws, though.
I get it, but movie says that she's still talking. I'm just going off what the movie's telling me, man.
All right, she should be drowning in her own blood. She should be, but
should be going. It should be every breath in should be compressing her lungs.
Yeah. So anyway, Brain Bug is about to take her out. Starts to do the same ritual it did with Xander. Kind of starts to rear up its body. Looks like it seems like every time it comes down with the pulp, it's supposed to use all the force of its weight to go through the skull.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be theoretically just not even a strong portion of this brain bug at all. It might be very, very weak. It just so happens to be pointed.
Mm-hmm.
So it needs that weight to be able to puncture anything, and it knows it.
Yeah.
So it starts to kind of half rear up to get that pulpit or proboscis. I don't know.
That makes sense.
I keep messing up that word.
Proboscis.
But in the script, it's called a pulp. P-A-L-P.
Yeah, so they called it the pulp and the proboscis at the same time. So
Okay.
it's the same thing.
So one thing I noticed that's different is the things that I thought were like the filters, like the filters of a crab
Mm-hmm.
on the brain bug. If you freeze it at like 49, it seems to have opened up, and there's like 4 little nails or something that also stick out.
Yeah, that's the feeding little feeders, like on a crab.
But it didn't open up with Xander. It stayed kind of closed.
Mm?
So maybe it was just to make it look more terrifying when it's about to kill Carmen, or it's in a feeding frenzy.
Maybe, who knows?
So Carmen gears back on that blade that was handed to her by Xander. It was in the previous minute.
Yes.
I think we just forgot to mention
No, I
that.
mentioned it.
Okay, so she's armed. She makes a quick slice and removes the tip of the pulp, and it immediately sputs out some goo. Looks like it could be applesauce.
Yeah. This actually was. I have a little bit of notes on this one as well too. The exterior of the exterior of it was vacuform, as I said before in the previous minute. But before where the scene where Carmer severs it, a pre-cut tip was attached to it and superglued to allow a hollow tube to be inserted and to pump out colored methocell, which simulated the creature's blood spurting out. So it's blood spurting out.
Okay.
But yeah,
it's blood, but it's methocell.
Methocell is what it's called.
Huh. Wonder how much that costs for a gallon.
Probably gross, man. I mean, it doesn't look as fun as the Ultra Gel or the Ultra Slime.
You can buy some for $7.99.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how much you get for $7.99. All right, so the link that I saw for methocell for $7.99,
Mm-hmm.
it's powdered form.
Ah.
But you can also get an 8-ounce thing of methocell for $24.32 on Amazon.
Hey, okay.
So the instruction says you stir 4 tablespoons of this 8-ounce bag into 1 gallon of tap water.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get a lot done for $24.32 if you guys are interested out there.
Yeah, gross.
Yeah. So, anyways, and I guess it says here, the powder will disperse but will not dissolve until ammonia is added.
Huh.
So that's interesting. A caution is keep dyes, paints, and chemicals away.
Mm-hmm.
Avoid unnecessary personal contact. Do not take internally. This thing looks pretty harmful.
It probably is, but that's probably why they didn't
Yeah.
use it too much.
Okay. It looks like it's something to use when you're dyeing clothes. Okay, so the instructions that I'm seeing here is you use it for tie-dye. So I guess that's how you keep it from all the colors. Like basically if you put a white shirt in there, you drop it. It's to prevent a whole bunch of like let's say red dye turning the entire shirt red.
Mm-hmm.
So you put in this little bit of methocell. So it gives it that brief portions of separation. So there's portions where you get dye and portions that are just methocell. So you don't just necessarily just soak it in red dye. So I think that's how it's supposed to be used.
Okay.
And they say if you use boiling water, it thickens. So
Man.
It's supposed to be like a marbling kit.
Okay.
Like it's how you make things marble. So I guess that is how you do it for tie-dye, but anyways. So that's how you can use Methacil other than for films, people. You can use it to make tie-dye shirts.
Ugh.
If that's what you're into.
Gross.
So, anyway, I mean, it's another one of those minutes. I mean, we're getting to the point where this is near the end of the third act. Not a lot to talk about because not a lot actually happens. It's just everything was so suspenseful that it's like 20 seconds of suspense.
Yeah.
And we went through 2 intended kills. So, I don't know. Is there anything you want to add to this moment, Matt?
I like how, because like before I said it was a little bit atrophy and everything, like it doesn't have that much weight to it, or it's not using its legs that much. It actually does use its legs in pain, kind of like an involuntary pain response where it rears back and just shoots its blood all over the place and just like kind of hawks up stuff as well too.
Yeah.
But I really like how it looks. It's, it's a giant, and that's the thing too. Another thing that Verhoeven wanted, he wanted specifically to have this look like a termite queen, and it does.
Well, yeah, it really does, and it looks
it's
really cool.
Gross.
I like the way it looks. I think it's cool, but it is gross though.
Yeah, well, that's it for me then.
All right, so where can they find you, Matt?
You guys can find me at AltMatt pretty much anywhere on the internet, from Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, anything like that. I'll be on there.
Okay. You can find me on Twitch and Instagram at JDASHD26. You can also find me on Twitter at OMG It's Johan. You can also find the show on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, what have you. Please like and subscribe us. We really appreciate it, especially we're on right on the final legs of our show here, so it would be really cool to just get a final stretch of a couple more likes and subscribes to us. You can visit our website at theroughneckminute.podbean.com for show notes and back episodes. You can also follow us on Twitter at roughneckmin, that's M-I-N, not M-E-N. Right.
Men. Roughneck Men.
Yeah. Wonder if there's actually a Twitter handler for that. Anyways.
Roughneck Men.
Yeah. So you can also continue the conversation on our Facebook group, the Roughneck Minute Billet, B-I-L-L-E-T. I've been your host, Johan.
And I've been here, the host, Matthew.
And we'll see you on the bounce, troopers.